Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome if you're new. I hope you're all doing well and welcome back to a different kind of video. Hi guys, in today's video I'm going to be taking you through 3 of my planning techniques that I use to help keep on track with 1, my life, and 2, my 2022 goals. And those consist of my Notion. I know it's very, very popular these days. I started using Notion around about a year ago, maybe just under a year ago. Absolutely love it. It is a lifesaver. It's my digital way of planning and I use it alongside my beautiful bullet journal, which we'll also be flipping through today to show you how I use this alongside Notion and allow both passions of mine, digital planning and bullet journaling, to coincide with one another. And the last thing I'm going to take you through is my reading journal, which will help me keep on track of my reading goals this year. So there's 3 little segments to this video. I hope that it turns out all right. It's my first ever video like this, like lifestyle productivity-esque, and I've been wanting to film it for ages, but I keep getting daunted by the prospect of actually filming it. So I've been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, and I was like, right, 2022 is going to be the year I do it. So here we are. So I'm going to start with my Notion because it's basically the foundation to my planning. So without further ado, let's hop into my Notion tool. So here we are on my Notion page and it's a massive life hub of mine. I have many, many pages basically directing me to different aspects of my life. If we go left to right, the first little bit that I have is a custom graphic that I did for one of my favourite book quotes. And that is, from this day forward, I will stop trying to be perfect. For better, for worse, I will throw caution to the wind. For richer, for poorer, I will say yes to every opportunity that comes my way. To have and to hold from this day forward, I commit to my own happiness. And that is actually from The Lucky Escape by Laura Jane Williams. And I absolutely love that quote. It is the last line of the book. You need to put yourself first before you can give love out to anyone else. And I absolutely love that quote. I love opening up my Notion and seeing that quote there. Underneath that quote is my brain dump, and I basically put anything that I think that I need to remember. Video ideas, shopping list items, things I want to include in my bullet journal, tasks I need to do but don't really have a deadline, etc, etc. And then we go on to have my breathe little category, which is basically mindfulness tasks. So journal prompts that if I want to journal but I'm not really sure what to journal, this is a whole list of journal prompts that I could pick between. We then have my quotes, and every time I find a quote in a book or a quote somewhere, I put it in here. We have Queer Eye 6, we just have a random cherry pie quote, we have a couple from Beartown, the one from The Lucky Escape, one from Black Buck, one from the Christmasaurus and the Naughty List, and one from Philosophy. So basically any quote that I come across in a book that I find really, really meaningful, I will put it in my quotes section. And then we have a bounce back list, and it basically is what it is. It's a list of things that I want to do when I'm feeling down in the dumps and I want to revitalize myself and make myself feel better. And the quote at the top says, don't wait until you're feeling better to do something to make yourself feel better. So this is basically what that list is. So that is that section. And then I have a note section, which is goals, random goals I want to do that aren't designated for 2022. So things like far off in the future, basically my someday maybe page, my wish list, what I've watched and things to learn, pretty self-explanatory. And then my quick navigation is what we're really going to be focusing on in today's video. And this is where I keep my YouTube planning, my reading tracker, my goal tracker, and then my work dashboard, which I won't show you. And then I have down the right-hand column a running this month to-do list. And it's basically any task I think of when I'm not by a bullet journal or not by this computer, because I also have the Notion app on my phone. And I'll basically write down everything that I kind of want to do in that month. So that is my overall dashboard, but what we're really going to focus on in today's video is this little section, like I said previously. And let's just go top to bottom. Let's go into Rachel Cerys, which is my YouTube content creation area, basically. So I have a little cute picture of a camera, fun. And then the main thing that I use is this big ass calendar. And as you guys know, my schedule is Tuesdays and Sunday. So I basically have a video for every Tuesday and every Sunday coming roughly until like all the way up to the end of February. I have roughly planned out. But what I love most about Notion is that I can just like switch around days. If I don't feel like actually doing that video, I can just delete it. It's so easy flowing. And this is why I said Notion is my foundation, because I go on here and I brain dump everything that I want to do, and I can easily move it about if one day I'm like, actually no, I can't film that video here, it's going to have to readjust, etc. Whereas if I write it in pen in my bullet journal, it feels a lot more kind of finalized, and I don't like that. So I tend to only write my videos down in my bullet journal once I've like filmed them and I know they're actually going to happen. This is just more like a quick overview of kind of what I want to do by the end of next month, and just kind of if they change and adapt, I can just go, right, that's going to go there and this is going to go here, etc. So it's a lot more adaptable, which I absolutely love. The next thing that is massive as part of my Notion YouTube tracking is these 3 little tick boxes here. And that is basically so I know when I filmed them. I'm currently filming this planning of 2022 once I've edited it and once it's scheduled, so I can keep on track and I can see visually what I've got filmed, what I've got edited, and if anything's scheduled. And it just really keeps me on track. I can just see quickly, once overview, what I've actually got going on regarding my YouTube. And then if I need to plan out the video more, I simply click on the box, and this is my planning for this certain video, and I've got B-roll that I want to create, I've got talking points that I want to go over. So I basically planned out this video so it's not like a whole ramble, but I feel like it is going to be a bit more of a ramble, and not going to lie. Up at the top there's just a few extra pages. One is very self-explanatory. It's a video ideas page. Every single time I get a video idea, I chuck it in there. And then I have some other pages that really don't have much in them whatsoever. The main thing that I use for my YouTube is this main calendar, and it keeps me so on track and so accountable for my uploading schedule. I absolutely love Notion for this reason, and yeah, I just find it so helpful. If you are also a Notion user and you would like to kind of know how to create this sort of template, basically click on the page and it'll come up with type/4 commands. So you press slash and you get a whole list of actions that you could do. And basically how I created this calendar was I used a calendar section. So calendar database inline, and it will create a whole new calendar for you. And basically you get started from there. You click the plus button if you want to create a video being like film goals for 2022. And that's the basics of it. If you want to go more advanced, like me, you can create tags and say this is for YouTube or Instagram, maybe, if you're an Instagram user. Do something like that. But you could also have date, checkbox, if you want to make it into a checkbox so you can see that it's been done. And you're like, wait, it's not showing on here. If you go into the top corner and you go to the 3 dots, you go to properties, and you just need to make sure that it's tagged on rather than off. So that's basically how I've done my film edit and schedule. So if we went into this bit, then I could add a property of thumbnail, and I could make that into a checkbox, put it along with, it needs to happen kind of before it's scheduled, so put it in between then. And you're like, but it's not showing, but I want it to show on the main view. You go down into properties and you just make sure that thumbnail is tagged. It needs to go in between edited and scheduled. You basically just drag these 6 circles and put it wherever you want it to go, and it will reflect onto the main area. I personally don't need thumbnails. I'm always good at putting in thumbnails, so I'm just going to get rid of that. If you don't want it to show, but you don't want to get rid of it, then you can just toggle this. Like, this is so customizable, and that's why I love it so much. So that is kind of like my YouTube dashboard. It's what keeps me accountable, and I absolutely love it. If we head back into my Life Hub, the next kind of big thing that I keep track on Notion is my reading. So I know you all guys will be very interested in, so let's hop into my reading tracker. And here we are. I absolutely love this spread. It got a major makeover once we went into 2022, and I'm so happy with how it's now come out. It was very different in 2021, but I'm using Notion solely this year to track my reading, so I'll go into that in a bit more depth in a second. But this is basically what it looks like before kind of delving deeper into it. The top left, I literally just have my monthly TBR, and I can just tick it off once I've read it, and it just kind of allows me to see what I have and haven't read regarding my monthly TBR. I also like on the right hand side just to have a quick glance at all the monthly challenges that I want to complete this year, and it just keeps me on track. So every time I come to film my monthly TBR, I can look back at my Notion being like, have I got books that are diverse? Have I got a non-fiction pick in there? Have I got a translated work, etc, etc. And this is just nice to have visual here, so I kind of don't forget about it. It's kind of center on my reading tracker page. As you can see here, I've used the toggle feature for my February TBR because I did film that this morning, and I just wanted to make sure that I put all the books and the prompts down somewhere so I didn't forget about them. But I'm not going to show you because you're going to have to watch my February TBR coming soon. Subscribe so you don't miss it. And then we have the thing that I love most about Notion, and that is tables and making spreadsheets, because I find them so fun. So the first table that I have, which I can toggle as well, so basically how I've done that is I've created a toggle. A toggle basically means that you can put something within that and then hide it away. So maybe I want to track, I don't know, books with blue covers. And then once I've opened the toggle, so I've dropped that menu down, it says empty toggle, click here to drop blocks inside it. And then that's where I would put a database. They're called databases in Notion for some reason, and I put it inline. And then that's kind of how I do it. I can hide it away if I don't want to see it all the time, or I can have it out if I'm tracking something. So that's how I've done these toggles up here. And I have 4 toggles. I have my 2022 book haul. Every time I get a book, I put a new entry in. I was actually thinking of buying The Split today by Laura Kay, because it just came out in paperback. So if I did do that per se, I bought it in January. It's called The Split. It's by Laura Kay. Say it was $8.99. I brought it as a physical book. And then if it was gifted, I could click gifted, and then I can write who it's from and why. So if it was a birthday, Christmas present, monetization gift, etc., etc., because those are the sort of gifts, reasons I've got in the past. And then it just keeps a track and it tallies up exactly how much I spent on books throughout the entire year. And obviously, as the year goes on, this table will get bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's how I managed to do my video where I showed you guys how much I spent in 2022. That's how I did it, basically just from this template and this table. And last year I didn't have the month, but I thought it'd be quite interesting to see kind of a visual kind of representation of how many books I brought per month. Once I've read them, say I've read The Wrong Suitcase and I've read The Heart Principle, I'll say, oh, you've read 50% of these books. And this isn't an option that comes with the template. You need to add it, and adding it is super simple. What I love so much about Notion is how simplistic it is to use. And yes, it might look daunting when you download it and you just have a blank spread and you're like, how the hell am I meant to do this? But it just is a learning curve. But once you get the hang of it, it is so vital to living. I absolutely love it. So basically how you create these little numerical figures underneath is you just go to calculate and you pick your option. It's really not that difficult. So for this one, I just wanted to make sure that I was tracking the percent checked. So I could see by the end of the year how many books I had read by a percentage. And the same with the price column. I can literally just go sum, and it will sum up every single book that I've brought. If I wanted an average book price, I could go to average, etc., etc. So it's super simple to use. My next toggle is my pre-order tracker, and I think this is going to come so in handy. I did something similar last year, but it just wasn't useful. I never referred to it. So I wanted to make something that was going to be more easy to use and something that would actually benefit me. And so this table is basically just showing all the books I've pre-ordered so far, when their release date actually is, where I ordered it from. So most of them are from Waterstones, and The Wrong Suitcase is from iBooks. Whether I've paid for them, because as you guys know, being bookworms yourself, you don't pay for pre-orders until nearer the release date. So I want to keep track of what I have and haven't paid for. The actual cost of the book, which will be added to my tally at the end for 2022 book haul. And then I've put notes, so whether they're going to be delivered to my house, whether I need to pick them up in store. That's my pre-order tracker, pretty self-explanatory. My next one is my NetGalley request, and this is something brand new for 2022 for me, and it basically is tracking everything I request on NetGalley. And as you can see, I've only requested one so far this year, and I have yet to read and review it, so it just shows I just really don't like NetGalley arcs at all. But I couldn't help but request anything could happen, and I did get approved for it. The release date was January 6th. I still haven't read it, but that is fine. What's NetGalley without a book review coming out a year late? And then I've also made a table of all the books I DNF across the year. This is something that I didn't track last year, but by the end of the year I was like, I wish I kept track of all the books I didn't actually finish in 2021. So this year I decided to incorporate it, because if I question it, I might as well add it. I haven't DNF books yet so far, so this table is completely empty, but I'm literally just going to have the title of the book, the author, the month I DNF'd it, and why. Whether it's the writing style, it was a reading slump, etc, etc. I just kind of want to have the reasons there as well. So that one's pretty self-explanatory. And now we're on to my beautiful template, which is my 2022 books read list, which I'm super excited for. And this is basically just where I'm going to keep track of every single book that I've read in 2022. Obviously the title is very important, and one thing I love about Notion is that you can put emojis into different areas of the database, and you can put emojis up in the top left hand corner and they showcase themselves on the little table as well, which basically means I can have an emoji per book, which I'm so excited to have. Got a rainbow for me, my dad, and the rainbow, a honey pot for honey girl, an old man for a man called Uwe, some pancakes of sweet bean paste, a pen for how to fail because it's a non-fiction, and an umbrella for disaster tourist because it is an umbrella on the cover. I also have the author, I have the amount of pages, so by the end of the month or by the end of the year I can see how many pages I read. Obviously the rating, the month I've read them, what genre they were, the audience, whether they were middle grade, YA, adult, etc. Whether they were released pre-2022 or 2022. As you can see, all the books I've read so far have come out prior to 2022. The author identity, the pronouns they use, as well as how they represent in the community, gay, lesbian, queer. What other options do I have? Agender, transgender, they, them, etc. And I can easily add more if I come across an author whose identity I haven't written down yet. I can easily add one to the list. That isn't a problem whatsoever. Then the author race, Asian, Black, White, Hispanic, Mexican, Middle Eastern, African. I have some here, but I can once again easily add more if I come across more. And then how I've required it, whether it was from my own TBR, whether I got them from Scribd, the library, or NetGalley, because those are the 4 main ways I read books. And then whether they were own voices, whether they were part of the LGBTQ plus community, the characters or the author, whether they were diverse. So I'm basically just ticking this box for every single book that I read that isn't a white, cis, heterosexual kind of person, basically how I represent. Anything that is outside that I'm counting as diverse, whether it's been translated and whether it was a reread. So as you can see so far, I've read 6 books, I've read 1,642 pages, 33% of them have been own voices, 33% of them has been LGBTQ+, 66% have been diverse, 50% have been translated, and 50% were a reread. And another thing I wanted to show is in 2022, one of my goals is to write more about the books that I'm reading. So once again, like with my YouTube tracker, I can click into the page that I've created on this table, and underneath it, I have a template that I created myself. And basically I've got a nice picture of the cover, so I remember what the cover looked like, a 1-sentence review section, basically where I can just write 1 sentence on how I describe the book. So for videos, if I'm trying to describe the book, I can come back to this page and be like, oh, okay, that's how I describe it. And I can basically just reiterate that into my videos. Any trigger warnings that may happen, so I can mention this to my audience, and notes I have across the book whilst I'm reading. And that is basically how I'm going to be tracking my reading this year, and I cannot wait to see the spreadsheet evolve and adapt. If I want to add a new tracking system, say I want to track whether they were unhauled, I can literally make a checkbox column, just title it unhaul. And then as I go through the year, I can actually just tick off the books that I maybe have read but I wanted to unhaul, and then I can see by the end of the year how many books I've unhauled if I went down to calculate and put percentage checked as an option. This was an on-the-spot decision, but I might actually keep that as an option. So that is how I'm tracking my reading in 2022 regarding Notion. And then in the last page I wanted to show you guys today is my goal tracker, and this is how I'm going to keep on track with my goals in 2022. Hopefully, anyway. This is a completely new concept for me, so I have no idea how it's actually going to work. And what I love about Notion is if it doesn't work, I can completely scrap the idea and create a new way to track. But this is how I'm going to track in 2022 currently. This is what it looks like. And down the left-hand side, I have my 2022 priority goals. And the ones in each category I've highlighted in red are my main priorities. And how I'm going to stay on track with them is on the right-hand side. This is another calendar that you can simply add with a toggle, a click of the slash, and then go calendar right there, and you click inline and it will create a new calendar to the page. I'm very much one for structure. I love structure. So for me, this might actually work really, really well. If I feel too pressurized by it, I won't use it. It's not the end of the world if I don't use this, but I want to trial it out and see if it keeps me on track. But what I find that it works best with goals and tasks that you have a deadline for, so that you can break them down by week, by day, and make them less daunting. One and only task I have in my quarterly and monthly focus calendar right now is my Magical Hopathon round 2 kind of project, which it is a project. It's a big thing to create a readathon by yourself and to host it. I'm going to be hosting it in April, so I have 3 months roughly, maybe just under 3 months, to get everything together so I can create content for it, so I can let you guys know about it. As you can see, we're on the 20th, and right at the beginning of the year I wanted to kickstart getting it organized, because when I hosted round 1 I really struggled with getting everything done because I thought of the idea so late that I only really had about 3 weeks to work on it from start to finish before I had to announce it. And it was a bit of a rush. I had to get my boyfriend involved in helping me design some of the elements, and I really wanted to design this all myself. So I wanted to start in January so I had enough time to do so. I was like, right, I need to break down this major goal, which is basically the overarching thing, is to host Magical Hopathon round 2. But what does that actually entail? So I brainstormed outside of this, just on a piece of paper, what do I need to do in the steps leading up to actually creating a video saying, hey, I'm hosting it. I need to figure out what the aim is. I need to figure out the rules. I need to plan out brand new prompts, because this readathon is focusing on Disneyland Paris rather than Walt Disney World. So therefore I need to redesign the map. I need to design new icons. I need to do all these things in the lead up before actually creating the, hey, I'm announcing it, this is my readathon video. So I broke those down into when I actually think I needed to complete, what were the priorities, what do I need to figure out first to ensure that the rest of the task can flow nicely into one another. So the main thing basically is I needed to figure out the aim of this readathon. So it wasn't going to take me very long, so I gave it 3 days at the beginning of January, and as you can see, I completed it. The next thing I needed to do was figure out the rules. I gave myself the 6th to the 9th, and I completed it. And then I wanted to figure out the prompts, because prompts are my favourite part of hosting readathons. I love figuring out the prompts. And I did that in a day. I gave myself the week just in case it was a busy week, and I completed it. The next task I needed to do was redesign the map. I actually had this for the 17th to the 23rd, but I realised how chaotic my week would be this week, so I've adjusted it, and that's absolutely fine. So it was like this, and I just simply dragged and dropped it to make it a next week task. And that's absolutely fine. And then I have designed icons, I have figure out an Instagram pack, and then by March I want to be creating the content. And this is all like scheduled and sorted. By the 20th of March you will have a video. If this keeps me on track, by the 20th of March you will have a video explaining Magical Hopathon round 2, which is very, very exciting, and it's all scheduled in. And what I love about scheduling it in digitally first is that like I said before, I can adjust the dates if need to. And then when I come to planning in my bullet journal, which I will show you later, if I'm planning out the week of the 24th, which I have done, and I can come to this page, see what goals I need to complete that week, and I'm like, oh, okay, and then I'll write it in my bullet journal to make sure I do it, because I view my bullet journal more often than I do the goal page. And that is basically how I'm going to keep track of my bigger goals. Like, I don't need to make a whole kind of timetable for my goal of less structured reading and have fun, or use the library more often, or branch out into more lifestyle content. I don't need to create a whole timeline like this that spans across multiple months for a goal that simple and that easy. This is just for my bigger goals, and those bigger goals I'm going to keep a secret, but I just wanted to show you how I would do it with the Magical Hopathon. And then right down at the bottom of my goal tracker, this is the last thing I wanted to show you guys today, and these are my task related goals. And task related goals to me are basically things that I can do in one sitting, things that I can get done with a simple click here, click there, get it done in like an hour, and I can tick it off. And that is kind of how I'm going to keep track of my monthly goals. And in January, I have a couple of monthly goals: get a credit card, book Yacht tickets, plan a Magical Hopathon, book France to Eurostar, because I'm going to Disneyland Paris in June, and book France flights. And once again, if I don't manage to get this goal complete in January, I can move it over to February. And I have a section of no status, which is, for me, there's only one at the minute because I thought about it the other day and I need to get it done, and that's to book an eye test. And I don't know if I need to put it in January. I may or may not do it in January, but so far it has a no status. I could put it into February if I wanted to, but it's just so easy to do that rather than having to write it down on pen and paper and then having to like keep adjusting it and scribbling it out. It's just nice to have it digitally that you can just go, right, that's getting done in April. I want to get that done in February. And then I can literally just tick it off once it's done. And then hopefully by the end of the month, I will have completed them all. But so far I've only completed one, but that's fine. The Plan a Magical Hopathon is a continual thing that I will keep moving on until March anyway. So those are how I'm going to track my goals. Hopefully it's going to work, but who the hell knows? But that is basically my Notion page. But without further ado, let's hop into how I have Notion as a companion to my bullet journal. So this is my bullet journal. This is the best angle I'm going to be able to get, so bear with me. But this is basically where I keep my life, and my bullet journal is basically where I keep my weekly and my daily to-dos. And the Notion aspect of that is I brain dump everything I need to get done before I ever plan in my bullet journal. My Notion is always my first port of call. So I'm going to go flick back to the beginning of January. And this is my January homepage basically. And it just has my focuses and my goals for the month. And like you can see, book Yauk, get a credit card, book France flights and Eurostar, and plan Magic Hopathon are all goals that feature in my Notion, but are also down on here. However, I planned them out in Notion first, and I was like, right, those are the goals I want to get done in January, and then I put them in here. I love ticking things off multiple times, so the fact that I can tick it off in Notion and my bullet journal makes me very, very happy. So that is basically how I correspond Notion to my bullet journal. I brain dump everything into Notion, and I put it all into bullet journal once I've finalised the things I want to get done in that month and on that week. This is my monthly calendar, nothing incredibly special there. This is completely separate to my Notion. My Notion is basically more for broader planning, so not like minute planning. It's more for YouTube content, for goal tracking. And my bullet journal is less for planning and more for doing. I think that's the best way to separate the two. Notion is for planning my future, and my bullet journal is for doing my present. Then I have my monthly kind of dashboard. I have a master to-do list. This does correspond with my master to-do list in Notion, and they're very flexible. I'll either write in one or the other. Usually my brain dump monthly to-dos go in my Notion if I'm out and about and I don't have access to my bullet journal. So for example, on the train today, I realized, oh my God, I need to email my hospital for a repeat prescription, and I didn't have a bullet journal on me. So I wrote it in my Notion, and then now I can get home, I can actually add it to my daily to-do list. In here on my bullet journal, email for meds. And I can be like, right, okay, now that's in my bullet journal, I can get rid of my to-do list on my Notion, and I know that that is now transferred over. I just wanted to show you my February spreads in my bullet journal to showcase how I would do the transferring of goals from my Notion into my bullet journal. So in February, this is my cover page, and underneath my cover page is my area for focuses and my goals. So if we go back to my goal tracker, we can see that maybe in February, I would like to book an eye test. So I'm going to drag that in there. And now that it's finalized, I'm going to put it into my goals in my bullet journal. And the first one is going to be book eye test. And then, because I've left quite a lot of space for each goal, I can just put a little checklist and be like, phone Specsavers as one task. So I can break down these goals into small, minute tasks that I can do daily, so it doesn't feel so daunting as in just book eye test. My first task for booking the eye test is to phone up, and then the next one is to arrange an appointment. I like doing that, so I have smaller steps to work towards. So that's kind of how I would transfer the goals that I may have put on Notion into my bullet journal. And that is kind of how I keep on top of my life in my bullet journal. Very self-explanatory, because it basically is just a major notebook of to-do lists. Now let's hop in to my reading tracker. My reading tracker has no correlation with Notion whatsoever, because this is completely separate, and that's what I love so much about my reading journal, is because it is so separate. It is just analog planning, and that is absolutely it. And it's just a place for me to kind of express myself in reading and books, and that's what I'm passionate about, and I love this. And this is the first time that I've ever done a reading journal, which is exciting. So I've taken a lot of inspiration from what I would do in my bullet journal, and I just turned them bookish, and I got a lot of inspiration from YouTube as well. So my first double page spread is an anticipated releases, and I basically use this as a future log like I would in a bullet journal, but instead of writing birthdays and doctor's appointments and eye tests, etc., I put books down that are being released. So for example, in January, I have Do Books I'm anticipating, and that was Anything Could Happen, which came out on the 6th, and Olga Dies Dreaming, which came out on the 4th, and those are my anticipated for January. And it basically is just a future log, but for book releases instead of hospital appointments, etc. And then the next page I have is an entire page of pages read, because I thought it'd be really, really fun this year to make sure I tracked every single day how many pages I read, because why the hell not? And so far I'm loving doing this, and I love knowing the accuracy rather than being like, yeah, I probably read about 50 pages last night. I can actually know that I read 156, and the day before that I read 94. I think by the end of the year it'll be so cool to have an entire year of how many pages I read, and I can see where I hit slumps and stuff. I think that'll be so much fun, because in June I could have not read anything and be like, well, I hit a slump there. And this idea came from my little journal on YouTube. I'll link her down below. And then the classic bookshelf, like this is iconic within the reading journal community and the booktube community. I draw a book, I write a title once I've read it. Self-explanatory, excited to fill this one in. And then this is a page I'm really, really excited for. This is 100% inspired by Emma from Drinking by My Shelf. And it's basically like a book trail that she did last year. And basically every time I do one of the book challenges that I showcase in Notion, if I read non-fiction, then I can colour in a box. If I read a translated, I can colour in another box. If I read a borrowed book, I can colour in another box. And if I didn't read 50% diverse, I would have to go back a square, etc. And my aim is to get to the end of the star. And I'm very, very excited to fill this out. I have yet to fill it out, but I'll be doing it in my January vlog style wrap up. So be on the lookout for that. And then this one I'm really excited for as well. This is my reading in review, where I have a little table for every single month to write down how many books I read, how many pages I read, and the average rating, so I can see overall what my best and kind of worst months were regarding reading. And this is 100% inspired by Cassie's Book Corner on YouTube. I'll link her down below again. And then we go into my January spreads, and this is I'm super, super excited for, because this is where I can really delve in deeper into my daily reading. And this is my reading dashboard for January. It basically has all the pages I've read in a bar graph, and then the actual total of pages, the schedule that I would like to stick to, and then my official TBR, the books I hauled, the books I borrowed, and the books I DNF'd. And that is pretty much how I'm keeping track of my reading journal. I have done spreads like this in the past because I used to combine my reading journal and my bullet journal into one thing, but I thought I'd separate them out this year, and I'm looking forward to having the two passions of mine separate, but I'm keeping the colour theme, if you can see, the exact same. I'm using the same colour, so it's easy for me to kind of visualise that this was the month of January. And I'm super, super excited to delve deeper in to planning my reading in 2022 and kind of figuring out all the stats. So there we have it. That is how I'm hoping, fingers crossed, to stay on track of my life and my goals and my reading in 2022. I really, really, really hope you enjoyed this video and liked how I kind of filmed it. This is my first ever time doing, like I said at the beginning of this video, a planning goal kind of type of productivity lifestyle video. So if I didn't do it perfectly, it's a learning curve for me. I would love to do more content like this in the future. So if you did enjoy it, a massive thumbs up and a comment would mean the absolute world to me, maybe on how I can improve, what you enjoyed about it, what aspects I maybe could have like not spoken as much in depth about. Kind of, I just want your guys' feedback, because I want to start doing more videos like this. I just don't know kind of where to begin. I started with just rambling about how I plan and how I keep on top of my life basically in this video. But if you guys want a more concise version or things I could have missed out, then let me know in the comments down below. It'd be greatly, greatly appreciated. Any constructive criticism or feedback down in the comments. But let me know what you do to keep on top of your life. Do you track anything at all? Do you just not plan and just go with the flow? Because I'm jealous of people who can do that. I would love to not be so like anal when it comes to planning and keeping my life on track. But it also brings me so much happiness and so much joy ticking things off and planning things and making sure I'm on track with my goals. So that's personally how I do it. Obviously, a massive disclaimer that you can plan however the hell you want to plan and what works for you. And planning is so subjective into what works for you. This is personally just what is working for me right now, but in a month, 2 months time, that goal tracker could be completely scrapped once I finish planning my magical hopathon, because it no longer works for the rest of my goals and I might have to come up with a new concept. Who knows? But as of right now, of January 2022, those are the 3 methods I'm using to keep on track of my life. So without any more rambling, if you enjoyed this video, like I said previously, make sure you give it a massive thumbs up. It'll be greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. Subscribe down below to see future content like this, hopefully, if this video is well received, as well as all my usual content of bookish things. So book recommendations videos, weekly vlogs, themed reading vlogs, TBR games, you name it, I probably have it here on this channel, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of those videos. And without further ado, I will see you in my next video, which is bookish. Bye guys.